Hello people of YouTube, and welcome. I'm Patrick Giguere with Cosmic Alchemist Astrology, and thanks again for tuning in. So today's topic, I want to get into something that has kind of been itching at me. It's been something I've wanted to talk about because it's an expression of duality, and duality can really drive me nuts. I have 5 planets in Pisces, so it comes with the territory. But yeah, duality can really drive me nuts, especially, and it's certainly the case in this situation, it especially drives me nuts when people get dualistic, but they're just like the people on the other side of the issue that they're criticizing. And this happens a lot. Pretty much every issue, people fall into this trap where you have to pick a side. There are only 2 sides to pick, and they end up, demonizing and bad-mouthing and criticizing each other and saying how each saying the other is so stupid and, on and on. But it turns out that they're pretty damn identical. It's very ironic. I first discovered this in my own family. It was a daily thing, with a lot of fighting and resentment and all that fun stuff, and name calling. But the 2 sides were identical to each other, so much so that they couldn't stand each other. So the issue in this case is COV-IDiocy. I didn't coin this term. I very much doubt I made it up. Can't remember where I heard it. So now I'm using it. I don't know who to credit, but now I'm using the term COV-IDiocy. And real quick, before I get on my roll here, if you like my videos, if you like my content, please consider subscribing to the channel, sharing the videos, liking the videos, and leaving me a comment. The comment can just be a thumbs up or a smiley face or a hey, thanks, cool video. Doesn't have to be much of anything. It just helps the algorithm. The reason all this is helpful is it helps the channel do better. It gets higher in the search algorithms. When the channel does better, I can make more videos, cooler videos, more interesting, more in depth. So thanks either way, but please consider. So let's get back to COV-IDiocy here. So when I say COV-IDiocy, I mean people basically getting idiotic about this whole COVID thing that's been going on for the last, going on a year and a half. Now most people, that I happen to interact with in daily life, most people who tune into this channel, when I say COV-IDiocy, they're going to be like, oh yeah, those stupid people who think that humans are evil super spreaders and they're going to get sick just by breathing the same air as somebody. Well, that's one kind of COV-IDiocy or COV-IDiot. But like all issues, there's another side, and the other side is always just as idiotic as the people who they are saying are idiots. It's just inevitable. The 2 sides to every issue are always equally ridiculous, but they can't admit that to themselves because it bruises their egos to do so, and they just want to tell themselves and everyone else how right they are and how intelligent they are. So yeah, there's the one side of COV-IDiocy that has really embraced this whole way of thinking how everybody's a suspect. It's just like after 9/11. Anybody could be a terrorist. If you see something, say something. Now it's like everybody is like, Chinese virus positive until proven negative. So yeah, there's definitely that side of it. And I was living in Boston until a year ago. I had to get out of there. Boston's like the capital city for people who know what's best for everyone else because they're so goddamn smart and educated and they listen to NPR all day. I don't like Fox News either. I think they're a bunch of dipshits too. I don't like any news network. I don't take a side. So, but yeah, in Boston, it's like people were, the first winter it was out, people were taping their gloves to the cuffs of their coats as like a makeshift biohazard suit so air couldn't get to their skin. People were literally stepping off the sidewalk into a lane of traffic when you were passing them on the sidewalk because they didn't want to share the sidewalk with an evil super spreader human. So that's a form of COV-IDiocy. Now, but the other form of COV-IDiocy has had its advent since the injection has been out, the experimental, very adventurous injection, this new form of medicine that's been cooked up within the last year involving mRNA. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm just all about common sense. And so where I come from about the new experimental injectable remedy is that we don't know what it does. And let's put it this way, you can't learn to play golf well in a year. You can't learn to, ballroom dance well in a year. It takes time. So developing a new medicine and a new technology takes time. A year doesn't cut it. And there's just been so much, hype, and it's been so politicized, and there's so many suspect things around it. Like, there are segments of the population that have no risk factors, and it's been said by the authorities that, asymptomatic people don't spread it. And then getting the injection doesn't stop you from spreading it. So, but they have like this slogan, like an injection for every arm. So, and they're bribing people with $50, hamburgers, Krispy Kreme donuts, sodas, beers. They're cutting prison inmates' sentences in half if they get it. The whole thing just reeks of desperation and really ulterior motives. And I'm not diving into some crazy conspiracy ultimotive. I'm just talking about the ultimotive of making money. Because really, when you think about it, this is like the left's 9/11. 9/11 was turned into a big money-making scam for a bunch of war companies, a bunch of military-industrial complex companies that pose as defense companies. So, Dick Cheney was the inside man in government that got all these weapons companies and all these surveillance companies all kinds of contracts to make a shitload of money and got us going to war. So now Dr. Fauci is like Dick Cheney 2.0. He's Big Pharma's inside man in government. So it's a big money-making scam. And once the government has bought all these injectables, they have to move them. So yeah, the whole thing's very desperate. It reeks. It's just very suspect. So anyway, now that the remedy, the experimental remedy, the injectable remedy, the injectable experiment, and if you look in the insert, it's an open, ongoing trial. No FDA approval. No sufficient animal testing. It's an open trial. It's a massive experiment. So now that this experiment has been going forth, a new type of COV-IDiocy has arisen. And so what you have now is people who suspected, even the origins of the virus, and we're seeing this now in the Senate where Dr. Fauci's getting grilled over, did this thing come from a lab? And he's even saying, well, we need to investigate this, even though he was laughing at Donald Trump, and Donald Trump said we need to investigate this. So Anyway, now that all this is coming to light, people who suspected the origins and they suspected the safety of the new experimental remedy, the injection, these people are now, they're the new COV-IDiot to counterbalance the old, kind of more like left-leaning COV-IDiot. So now you've got more right-leaning COV-IDiots. So this other type of COV-IDiot, instead of fearing the virus, they fear the people who've been injected with the remedy, with the experimental medicine. And, they're losing their shit about spike protein shedding. They're losing their shit over EMFs, that the people who've been injected are going to just emit all these EMFs that are going to kill you and make you sick and all this stuff. And it's getting pretty ridiculous, people's fear over it. And the really ridiculous thing is that a lot of alternative media personalities who've been railing against the mainstream media for years and talking about what whores they are, what prostitutes, what opportunists, they'll say anything to make money. They'll scare people over anything to make money. A lot of these alternative media people are doing the same damn thing. And a lot of these alternative media people also want to be New Age gurus and New Age spiritual leaders. And they're acting just like the mainstream, using fear to get people to pay attention to them and buy their shit. So, all this stuff has to stop. All these people are, this right-wing COV-IDiot is the same thing as the left-wing COV-IDiot. They're just finding minute differences between each other and saying that, they're completely different than the other side, and the other side's the real idiot. It's ridiculous. It's like these two groups of COV-IDiots. It's like putting two cans of Coca-Cola next to each other and asking someone to decide which can of Coke is the superior one. Well, they're practically fucking identical. No two manufactured objects are perfectly identical, but for all intents and purposes, they're identical. So this is what the two groups of COV-IDiots are like. Both of them are just, they're making mountains out of molehills, and they're needlessly worrying themselves and scaring the shit out of themselves and scaring the shit out of other people. But yeah, both of them are just needlessly going crazy. And, I'm always reminding people of the astrology that this takes place under. Now, the day that the national health emergency was declared here in the USA was March 13th, 2020. On that very day, that was the day that Saturn and Pluto were both together in the sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn is the home sign of Saturn. Saturn, one of the things Saturn can deal with is fear. It can also deal with control, because Saturn is the controller and the ruler of the 3D world. Capricorn is the sign of government. Pluto is the god of the underworld. Pluto can be sneaky. Pluto makes us deal with things we didn't want to deal with, we didn't want to acknowledge. Pluto drags things from the depths and makes us deal with them. And Pluto also deals with fear because it deals with our deep underlying emotions. It deals with control issues. So both Saturn and Pluto deal with control issues, and Capricorn, because it's a sign of government, deals with control issues. So this whole virus, no matter what you think of it, it was all about getting us to become aware of our fear and our control issues and to face them and heal them and resolve them. So that's the deal with the old COVID-19. It's a divine tool to get us to resolve our control issues and our fear, and to not operate from those, to not make those the driving force in our lives, which we've been doing for thousands and thousands of years in our educational, our religious institutions, our governments, even our families have been reinforcing this and teaching us to be afraid of everything and try to control everything. And in the last 2,000 years, the intellect has really taken center stage in the consciousness of the mainstream. And the intellect is a complete control freak. In astrology, it's symbolized by Mercury. Mercury is the prince. The sun is the king and the moon is the queen. So the sun is the soul and the moon is the mind. The prince will never be as powerful as the king and the queen, but it wishes it was. And it always tries to get more clever and collect more data, and it tries to tell itself that it is wise. It can be clever, and it's an indispensable, invaluable tool, but it's not wise and it's not far-seeing by any stretch of the imagination. So, yeah, the China virus has all been about, and the experimental remedy, the experimental injectable remedy, it's all been about fear and control freakism. So both types of COV-IDiots are fearful control freaks, and they need to get out of that because it's not doing anything good for the world. It makes you less healthy. And it takes you out of the present moment where you can't seize opportunities and make yourself better and, make money, have fun. So yeah, it's like just cut the crap. It's not easy sometimes. I've been stuck in fear at different times in my life, but you got to get out of it. But back to my point, the astrology that it took place under was all about fear and control, and about institutions that don't want to lose control and them finding sneaky ways to try to maintain control. So the stars that all this took place under, they were not kiss your ass goodbye stars. It was Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn. It was fear and control. If this had taken place, if Saturn and Pluto had met up in Scorpio, that could be like a kiss your ass goodbye, like a no shit medieval like Black Plague, but not the case. So yeah, don't stay healthy, don't catch the virus, but if you catch it, if you're under the age of 70, you've got like a 99+% chance of surviving. And this virus has been all over and in all of us. It's not, you can't freak out about not coming into contact with it because it's all over you. It's like in your body. You're just not getting sick from it. Now, when it comes to the remedy and the spike protein shedding and all that shit and the EMFs, I'm not buying it. Yeah, it's people who got the injection, they're going to make more spike proteins and they're going to come out into the environment, and if you're in contact with these people, they're going to rub off on you, but if your body's not making them, it's not a huge deal, in my opinion. Now, where it is a big deal, I think, where I think this is going to be a big deal is, I'll put a link to one of my newer videos. It's all about a new STD that I think we're going to be dealing with. But it's not a real STD, it's a side effect of the injection, of the remedy for this virus. Because the largest concentration of spike proteins in the body are in the reproductive system. So I think people who've had the injection are going to be spreading these genetic mutations to people who have not had it via sexual contact, via the fluid exchange. So, and I think men can get it from women, women can get it from men. It's going to be universally transferable. And I think this is going to, once people have this, you could see some like blood clotting and all that kind of stuff like you're seeing after people get the injection. I think the big thing from it is going to be infertility. because think tanks have been talking for years, and the Bill Gateses of the world have been saying, got to get the population down, got to get the birth rate down, less birth, less babies. So, you know, I think it's here. Check out the show Utopia. If it was, the American version was filmed in 2018, 2019, and released in 2020. Hits a little close to home. So yeah, that's what I think the extent of it is. Now some people will say, well, what about, you know, what about people who didn't get the shot, but, you know, they were just in, you know, arm's length personal contact with someone who did, and, you know, they had crazy, you know, their menstrual cycle went crazy. Like, that could be shedding. And I'm like, well, yeah, I think it is a type of shedding, but I think something that we haven't thought about a lot with this virus is that I think the virus, I think it's a mental thing. A more talented astrologer than I introduced me to this concept. But basically, it was like a mental virus of like fear energy, you know, the emotion of fear. Emotions have frequencies. And it basically was induced by broadcasts, by TV, you know, all the fear in the media was what got it to jump to the human mind, and it's been jumping between people's minds ever since. And when you get into the whole concept, you know, a lot of people talk about how, oh, we're going into 5D, and we go into 5D, we're gonna leave all the low vibration people behind, and the elites and the Illuminati are gonna get left behind. Everything's gonna be amazing. I think a lot of this is Judeo-Christian programming, where people don't want to deal with the world's problems, so they just want a rapture to come. You know, they want the apocalypse to come, and, you know, God comes down and just gets rid of all the bad people for them. Not going to happen, so simply. But you know, when we talk about being in 5D consciousness, I think that is coming. I think, you know, the Schumann resonance, the frequency of the Earth has like doubled, you know, within like the last 20 some years. So I think we are moving into this sort of a 5D space. Now, that comes with a lot of responsibility going into 5D. It's just not, you know, God or the Earth or whatever, just getting rid of all the bad people for you. It actually puts a lot more responsibility into your lap. So in a 5D space, basically your thoughts and your emotions are going to start manifesting physical things very quickly. I could be dating myself here, but it's like the Michael Crichton novel Sphere. I think they made a movie out of it too. But basically in Sphere, they found this sphere on the bottom of the ocean, and it gave people this 5D ability to just, their thoughts and their emotions just became realities. And it was their unconscious thoughts and emotions manifested to become physical realities. And they didn't even know they were doing it. They were like doing it in their sleep or doing it when they were unconscious, you know, physically unconscious. So, I think with this whole protein shedding, spike protein shedding thing, I think it's our 5D faculty is now more online than it ever has been, you know, in thousands of years. And I think people are probably manifesting spike protein shedding symptoms in their bodies just like they manifested the virus symptoms in their bodies. It's fear and control freakism is making it manifest. So, yeah, I don't think you have to waste a lot of time with avoiding people, with, you know, doing all kinds of shielding, physical shielding and psychic shielding and EMF shielding. I think that's a big fucking waste of time. I mean, I think it's a good idea to do your energy work and just work on your boundaries, because we need boundaries to have healthy relationships, to have physical health, to succeed, you know, to just go about our lives. We need good, healthy boundaries, but don't waste a lot of time thinking about how you're going to put up, I got to put up my shields against the spike proteins and the EMFs from the nanobots and the injection. There may very well be nanotechnology in that injection. There's so much that's not known in the mainstream, and there are all kinds of crazy patents you can find for nanotechnology. But, don't lose your present moment freaking out about that shit. Because if you freak out about that shit, you're giving consent for something to happen to you. It's like when whistleblowers are like, oh, I might be taken out if I talk about this. It's like, well, you're giving someone permission to assassinate you if you're talking like that. Because you're talking like that because you're thinking like that. So, live in the present moment. Seize your fucking sovereignty. Take control of your fucking sovereignty. Chill the fuck out. And, when you have your sovereignty, you don't let people just fuck with you. And if you think you're seizing it and they're still fucking with you, then you're giving them permission. So, work on your fear. Don't waste so much time, going out of the way to do all this special shielding. Just get your mind straight. Don't be a COV-IDiot. Just because you're a right-wing COV-IDiot doesn't mean you're not a COV-IDiot like the left-wing COV-IDiots. And this is about unity. And I'm not talking about, every little shit-ass political movement that's ever been has talked about unity. But it's the type of unity that tyranny brings. Tyranny brings all kinds of unity because what it does is it shoves a political agenda down people's throats, and it shoves a lifestyle down people's throats, and it silences everybody who disagrees. And every side to every issue is doing this right now. The type of unity I'm talking about, it's all about the power of, it's like the magic of three, the magic of the third power. It's like in the middle between two extremes, there's a middle path, and that's the unity. It's the ability to just let the extremes be themselves and just be the balance between those two things. This magic of three, this power of three, it's encoded into all kinds of architecture all over the world. It's in East Asia, it's in the Gothic cathedrals, it's in all kinds of old temples, and it's pretty amazing stuff. Be the real unity, not the dipshit political unity. Because politics is a waste of time. It's a way to make us peasants think that we're clever because we can find a news channel that says things that we like, and we can regurgitate it, and we can make fun of other people for not agreeing with us. Politics is a bunch of narcissism too, and it's also a safety valve on anger. And basically, people build lives that they really don't want, and they feel trapped in them. And politics is a way for them to avoid that. It's a place for them to misplace their anger. Anger moves people and gets shit done. And really, people who, the puppet masters in this world, they want you to be angry at all the wrong things. They don't want you to use your anger to change your life. Because when individual people start changing their lives and start being their own leaders, then the whole world changes, and all kinds of, officials and lawmakers and premiers, they become irrelevant because people just start ignoring them. So, take your own power back. Stop being afraid. Stop being a control freak. Be your own sovereign. Live in the present moment. Improve your own life. Instead of defending, instead of like being twitchy and just looking for threats to defend yourself from, just build yourself up. make yourself stronger, make yourself better. So I think that's about it for that rant. We're at about a half hour. But thanks for tuning in. That's my 2 cents. If you've not had a Vedic astrology reading with me, I highly recommend it. It's a great roadmap for your life. It's a way to find new confidence in things that you've known about yourself deep down, but weren't really sure if they were true. It's also a great way to just find out what your hidden talents are, your hidden opportunities, and how to steer around your natural pitfalls. And then I do rune readings, and I have a couple videos on sale for download, some qigong videos. Great mind-body practice to boost your energy, boost your health, raise your consciousness, raise your vibration, and help you relax, all kinds of good stuff. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and you'll be hearing more from me.